Hello, today we're going to be working about lecture quiz number 12, Examining Family Formation Patterns. This lecture is specifically on contemporary family forms. We are going to be looking at it to narrow the scope from 5 sociological themes that help us understand how families are evolving into today's society. So we'll be looking at it from a normative life course, deviance and stigma, marriage motivation, class and stratification, and gender ideologies. The traditional life course has been disrupted. The traditional one is viewed by these arrows cascading down on the left. It has been changed to this new one where there is not exactly an order involved. According to the United States Census Bureau, nearly 40% of U.S. births in 2023 were to unmarried women. Sociologist Andrew Cherlin describes this as the deinstitutionalization of marriage, which you've heard of before, where social norms around marriage are weakening. Stigma is not a norm itself, but rather a social response to violation of norms. It functioned as an informal social control, enforcing conformity by discrediting individuals or groups who deviate from dominant expectations. It can be pretty impressive. For example, Irving Goffman, way back in 1963, described stigma as an attribute that is deeply discrediting, reducing someone from a whole and usual person to a tainted, discounted one. Howard Becker also considered this with his labeling theory. It complements this by showing how individuals become identified as deviant through social labeling, which can lead to stigmatization. In the context of family forms, stigma may be directed at single parents, polyamorous families, or those who choose to live and remain child-free. However, as norms shift, so too does the intensity and focus on stigma. Discussing that is a very interesting article from Good Housekeeping that is in the notes of this lecture, and it's about polyamory. Love remains a key motivator, but economic stability is increasingly important. The Brookings Institution research shows that working class individuals delay marriage until financially secure. Kathleen Gerson found that many seek both emotional and economic partnership, but may opt out if those ideals seem untenable. This graph here in the corner is actually from the Pew Research Center. It supports both the statements that were just made, and in class today I will be asking you to find such graphs, ones that support the statements that we have made. So I thought throughout this presentation I would put graphs from this particular report, so as not to limit you, that will do exactly that. So let's talk about family formation as shaped by class. It's also race and education. The U.S. Census and Harvard's Opportunity Insights show that children from high-income families are more likely to marry and stay married. Sociologists describe this as diverging destinies, where stable family life is increasingly a privilege. Marriage is increasingly stratified by by class, which we will delve into more over the next class or two. According to research, again by Andrew Cherlin and others, college-educated individuals are more likely to marry and stay married, while working-class individuals often delay marriage until they feel financially secure. Sean Reardon at Stanford found specifically that educational attainment now predicts family outcomes more strongly than race, which had been the case for the previous decades. This shift reflects broader economic changes, where stable employment and income, often tied to education, are prerequisites for marriage. These patterns contribute to what scholars call the marriage gap, a growing divide in family stability between college-educated and those without a degree. Your first question is, according to recent sociological research, which group is most likely to delay marriage until achieving financial stability? That would be the working class individuals. In the upper right-hand corner is a picture of sociologist Sarah McClanahan, who is the one who coined the term diverging destinies, to describe how children's life chances are increasingly shaped by their parents' socioeconomic status. Children in high-income families are more likely to grow up in stable two-parent households, while those in low-income families face higher rates of family disruption. This divergence reinforces intergenerational inequality, as stable families tend to provide more resources, time, and support for children development. What does the term diverging destinies refer to in the context of family formation? It is the growing gap in family stability between social classes. I refer to recent Stanford and USC research, and specifically this tool we will explore during class, and it shows the economic and racial segregation in schools. A lot of the research that has come from this particular tool and data has been, for example, that school segregation has increased by over 50% since the early 1990s. These patterns matter because school quality and peer environments influence educational attainment, which in turn affects family formation and stability. So it's worth looking into. Importantly, this segregation is not just a result of residential patterns. It is also shaped by policy decisions, such as those expansions of charter schools and school choice programs. These educational inequalities feed into broader patterns of class-based family stratification. Gender ideologies refer to the belief held by people hold about appropriate roles for men and women, as I'm sure you already know. And as you also know, more than likely, many heterosexual families have traditional gender roles where men are expected to be breadwinners and women caregivers. And that narrative still dominates. However, research shows that same-sex couples often divide labor more equitably, not being bound by gendered expectations. This supports the idea that gender roles are socially constructed and not biologically determined. Sociologists use terms like gender socialization and patriarchy to describe how these roles are learned and maintained. Today, when you're doing our activities and in the future in this class, I suggest you might be thinking about using terms like gender ideology, gender socialization, patriarchy, division of labor, and even heteronormativity, although that is a bear to spell. So a 2022 study in the International Journal of Progressive Education, which by the way is linked in the notes of this PowerPoint, found that internalized sexism plays a mediating role in how women accept traditional gender roles and experience self-alienation. This means that women who grow up receiving frequent messages about traditional roles may come to accept external expectations as their own, even when they conflict with personal goals. This process is part of the term gender socialization, where individuals learn gendered norms through family, media, and institutions. While traditional roles persist, younger generations are more likely to support egalitarian partnerships, especially where caregiving and earning are shared. However, sociologists note a belief-behavior gap. Even when people endorse equality, actual household labor often remains gendered. These shifts are also shaped by intersectionality. Class, race, and culture influence how gender ideologies are expressed and challenged. I will focus intersectionality, which is a slightly different nuance than one we've been thinking about in the classes to come. In conclusion, families today are shaped by shifting norms, economic pressures, and evolving gender ideologies. These 5 sociological themes provide a framework for understanding how families are formed and transformed in contemporary society. Today in class, we hope to put this into action in our activities. See you then.